She started out cleaning carpets, a world away from the bright lights of reality TV. But somewhere along the line, Brandi Passante became a household name. For years, fans tuned in to watch her and Jared Schultz battle it out in storage auctions, always wondering what was real and what wasn't. But the truth, the real story, happened after the cameras stopped rolling. When her long-term relationship fell apart, Brandi didn't step back, she stepped up. Today, she's built a life far beyond the world of storage lockers. And when you see what she's really worth at 45, you'll understand why many believe this is her greatest chapter yet. From the very beginning, Brandi Passante showed she was built tough. Born in Harris County, Texas in 1980, she grew up surrounded by brothers who, as she once joked, loved to beat the crap out of her. But looking back, she credits that rough-and-tumble childhood for shaping her into the resilient woman the world later saw on Storage Wars. In her words, it gave her the kind of edge she needed in a business where men could easily walk all over you if they sensed weakness. She even shared a childhood photo on X, back when it was still called Twitter, a little girl with a black eye and a defiant grin, to prove that toughness was something she earned early on. Before her reality TV fame, Brandi's world looked very different. On the Spirit Talk podcast, she opened up about what she called a tumultuous childhood. Growing up, she often felt out of place, like she didn't quite belong in her own family. She admitted there were times she even wondered if she'd been adopted. Deep down, she knew she was meant for something else, saying she was never the type to just accept her lot in life. Long before the word "you up" became a household catchphrase, Brandi actually dreamed of becoming a chef. But despite her confident on-screen persona, she revealed in an interview with My Lifetime that she was always shy. She laughed about how, as a kid, that shyness came off as giving people dirty looks. It wasn't attitude, it was nerves. Still, Brandi had a fierce competitive streak. She spent 9 years playing softball, channeling that energy into every game. Between growing up with brothers and living in a house full of testosterone, she learned how to hold her own, skills that later came in handy when facing off against the strong personalities of Storage Wars. But her first job had nothing to do with TV or treasure hunting. In 1999, she was working at a carpet cleaning company, where she met Jared Schultz, her future partner both on and off the screen. At the time, he was her boss, and according to Brandi, he was persistent, very persistent. She told the Philippine Daily Inquirer that he simply wore her down. Jared, on the other hand, has his own version of the story. In a Facebook Live video, he joked that Brandi was the one who wouldn't leave him alone, saying she stalked him after being hired. He admitted he wasn't exactly the smoothest guy, and even his friends had to remind him to treat her nicely. In his words, looks weren't his strong suit, so he relied on personality and humor to win her over. Brandi remembers it differently. To her, Jared was relentless, flirting non-stop in a way she found embarrassing at first. But over time, his persistence paid off. What started as a back and forth at work turned into something real. And before long, the two who once bickered at a carpet cleaning company found themselves building a life together. Now, Brandi Passante and Jared Schultz never officially walked down the aisle, but they did build a family together, raising 2 kids, their son Cameron and daughter Peyton. The couple has always been protective of their children, keeping much of their lives private, but over the years, they've shared a few personal stories about the challenges they've faced as parents. During an appearance on the Dad Diary podcast, Brandi opened up about the difficult start to Peyton's life. When Peyton was born, she was deaf and had a cleft palate. At just 6 weeks old, she underwent her first ear surgery, and thankfully it worked. Peyton began to hear, but that early struggle left her with a speech delay, leading to years of speech therapy. Over time, she made a full recovery. Joining her school's cheerleading squad turned out to be a huge boost, helping her speech, confidence, and spirit soar. Cameron's journey wasn't easy either. During a checkup for a long-term urological issue, doctors discovered a mass on his kidney. At first, they monitored it closely, but when symptoms started to appear, it led to a lengthy hospital stay. Brandi recalled spending 3 months at the Children's Hospital of Orange County by his side, a period that forced Cameron to miss an entire quarter of high school. When Brandi became a mom, she thought she'd be content staying home with her kids, but reality hit differently. She later admitted that being a stay-at-home mother made her feel alienated and depressed. She loved her children deeply but missed having something of her own. Working, she said, made her a better parent. After the kids came along, Jared decided to try his hand in the mortgage industry, while Brandi focused on raising their family. But the stay-at-home life never sat right with her. She eventually went back to work, eager to find a sense of purpose again. Before fame found her, Brandi had a brush with the law. In 2007, she was arrested for drunk driving, an incident that led to 3 years of probation, a $390 fine, and mandatory participation in a 3-month first offender alcohol program. Since then, she's managed to stay out of legal trouble, though that hasn't stopped some followers online from making assumptions. Whenever she shares photos of nights out or drinks with friends, critics occasionally flood her comments with accusations about her drinking habits. But Brandi, ever confident and unapologetic, doesn't let it bother her. She's open about her love for a good time, and has even poked fun at herself for it. As for Jared, life threw him a curveball when the late 2000s recession hit. He suddenly found himself jobless, and without unemployment benefits. Things looked grim until help came from an unlikely source, his aunt, who managed a storage facility. She introduced him to the world of storage auctions, where abandoned lockers were sold to the highest bidder. He and Brandi started showing up at these auctions, hoping to strike gold in other people's forgotten belongings. Before long, their home was overflowing with finds, so much so that Brandi joked they could have easily landed on hoarders. That growing pile of treasures eventually pushed them to open their own thrift store, now and then. What started as a desperate attempt to make ends meet turned into the opportunity of a lifetime, one that would set the stage for a brand new chapter neither of them ever saw coming. Now their thrift shop was starting to find its groove, but Brandi Passante and Jared Schultz were still showing up at storage unit auctions like clockwork. They weren't celebrities yet, just regular faces in the crowd, hustling for the next good deal. One day during one of those auctions, Jared struck up a casual conversation with a TV producer. That same producer was quietly putting together an idea for a new show, one that would eventually turn into Storage Wars. A few months later, the producer reached out to Jared again, and before long, a camera crew rolled into their shop now and then. Brandi happened to be working that day, and as fate would have it, she caught the producer's attention immediately. Jared later told the Orange County Register that the producers walked right up to him, curious about the woman up front. They wanted to know who she was and if she'd be interested in being on TV. And in true Jared fashion, he couldn't resist cracking a joke. On the Mystery Men Show podcast, he explained that Brandi had worn a really nice dress that day, something that definitely helped her stand out. When the crew asked about putting her on camera, Jared smirked and said, "Do you think she wore that dress for nothing?" Brandi wasn't about to let that slide, of course. She fired right back, insisting, "It was a long dress." That little back and forth ended up being the kind of chemistry reality TV producers dream about. The footage they shot that day became part of a pilot episode for Storage Wars. At the time, neither of them thought much of it. Brandi later told the Saline Courier that they figured it was just a quick shoot, something that probably wouldn't lead anywhere. But that few minutes on camera turned into a hit series watched by millions. Based on that early footage, both Brandi and Jared were invited to join the main cast for the show's first season. For Brandi, seeing herself on national TV was a shock at first, especially when she realized the old "camera adds 15 pounds" line might actually be true. She even admitted to Lifetime that she started watching her weight more closely after seeing herself on screen. When Storage Wars first hit the air, Brandi and Jared arrived as the show's young guns, a duo that immediately caught viewers' attention. Brandi quickly earned a reputation as the grounded one, the voice of reason keeping their bids in check. Jared, meanwhile, had a knack for overbidding and prompting those perfectly timed eye rolls from his partner. Their chemistry was real, and that authenticity became a big part of why fans connected with them. But for Brandi, joining the world of professional storage buying wasn't just about hunting for hidden treasures. It was about earning her place in an industry largely ruled by men. She's spoken candidly about how tough that environment could be, describing moments that were anything but welcoming. Still, she never backed down. Growing up with brothers had taught her how to take a hit and get right back up, and that same resilience became her trademark on Storage Wars. helping her hold her own in one of reality TV's most competitive spaces. When she talked about it years later, Brandi made it clear that the job wasn't nearly as glamorous as it looked on TV. It was dirty, back-breaking work, filled with long hours and unpredictable outcomes. But she handled it head-on, proving herself to be every bit as capable as her male counterparts. And along the way, she became an example for other women watching at home. Between filming, running their store, and raising 2 kids, Brandi and Jared were together almost constantly. And that kind of closeness, as she put it, could sometimes lead to rock star fights. They had to make a conscious decision not to bring the day's drama home from the set, no matter how heated things got. But fame came with a darker side, too. Brandi revealed that after the show's success, she began receiving frightening letters from strangers. The messages got so disturbing that she eventually moved to a gated community and started therapy just to feel safe again. She described that period as life-changing, admitting that for a while, she didn't even like leaving her house. Then came 2012, a year that turned her world upside down. Explicit images and a video surfaced online, claiming to show her in a compromising situation. The only problem? It wasn't her. The man behind the site, Hunter Moore, had built a reputation for exploiting women online, posting private or fake content without their consent. And when he used Brandi's name and face to drive traffic to his site, she refused to stay silent. Brandi took Moore to court, filing a $2.5 million lawsuit for defamation and invasion of privacy. She was horrified that someone had used her image in that way, and even more terrified that her family might see it. Although the court ruled in her favor, the victory felt hollow. She was awarded just $750, a fraction of what she sought. Moore's smug reaction online only made the ordeal sting even more. Over time, Brandi has had to deal with all kinds of rumors, some petty, others invasive. But she's never been one to let gossip slide. When people started speculating that she'd had breast implants, she fired back on social media, making it clear that she hadn't. She even poked fun at herself, joking about her awkward chicken lips being the reason she skips lipstick. And while internet trolls tried to drag her into bizarre rumors, like one claiming she had toe fingers, Brandi handled it with her trademark humor and disbelief. Things took an even more dramatic turn when her Storage Wars co-star Dave Hester filed a lawsuit against AE, claiming the show was staged. In the lawsuit, he even mentioned that a female cast member supposedly underwent plastic surgery just to boost ratings. Many believed he was pointing at Brandi, but she didn't let the rumors shake her. Instead, she turned her focus inward, prioritizing her health through yoga, hiking, and mindful nutrition. What no one realized at the time, though, was that Brandi's real turning point was still ahead. When Brandi and Jared left Storage Wars in 2014, fans were stunned. Their chemistry was such a big part of the show's success that viewers couldn't believe they were walking away. As they explained to the OC Register, they never saw themselves as TV personalities in the first place, which made their exit even more surprising. The reason, though, wasn't drama, it was opportunity. The couple landed their very own spin-off series, Brandi and Jared, Married to the Job. The title was tongue-in-cheek, playing on the fact that even after more than a decade together and 2 kids, they had never actually married. The show followed their everyday lives in Orange County as they juggled family, business, and wedding planning. For fans, the main draw was seeing whether they'd finally make it down the aisle. The show's promotion promised a mix of love, laughter, and the usual bickering that made them famous. But behind the playful tone, cracks were beginning to show. Jared seemed uninterested in the whole wedding idea, even joking that Brandi could find a stand-in groom to handle the ceremony while he stayed home. He brushed off her excitement about the dress, told her to pick something off the sale rack, and seemed detached from the process altogether. Brandi's frustration grew as she vented that he criticized everything she chose. Their disagreements stretched beyond wedding plans. Jared annoyed Brandi by teaching their kids how to gamble while playing pool, and she wasn't thrilled about his idea to build a bar inside the house. During one confessional, Brandi summed up the tone of their relationship with dark humor, saying that sometimes love just means suffering through life like every other married couple until you die. It was telling, and it hinted at where things were headed. During an interview on The Dad Diary, Brandi opened up about how chaotic filming those shows really was. She revealed that during one episode of Storage Wars, she actually fractured her wrist when Jared accidentally rolled a bowling ball into a chair she was standing on. The timing couldn't have been worse. They were also filming Married to the Job at the same time, and because of continuity, she wasn't allowed to wear a cast. The result? Her wrist never healed properly, and she still has a permanent clicking sound to remind her of that chaotic period. Despite their growing fame, both Brandi and Jared admitted that celebrity life wasn't what they wanted. Brandi described it as a blessing and a curse, saying that sometimes all she wanted was to run simple errands without being recognized. Jared agreed, admitting that neither of them ever dreamed of being on television. Their spin-off, however, took things in a whole new direction. This time, cameras followed them almost daily, off the auction floor and into their personal lives. The tone shifted from high-stakes bidding wars to something closer to a sitcom, showing the chaos and humor of their home life. Jared even joked that the show made their dysfunction look a little less dysfunctional, and in some ways, it did. But while it offered a closer look behind the curtain, viewers didn't quite connect. Married to the Job lasted only one season, and soon after, fans began to sense that something wasn't quite right. In the fall of 2019, whispers began to spread through the Storage Wars fan community. Something about Brandi Passante and Jared Schultz just didn't seem right. Followers on Brandi's Instagram started to notice that Jared hadn't appeared in any of her photos for quite some time. In fact, the last time the two were seen together online was in a Disneyland family photo Jared posted back in November 2018. Soon enough, fans were filling her comments section with questions. One asked where Jared was. Another wondered if everything was okay. And then came the blunt ones. People straight up asking if Brandi and Jared were done for good. For months, the truth stayed hidden. Neither Brandi nor Jared said a word. But the mystery finally unraveled in 2020. During the Season 13 premiere of Storage Wars, Brandi revealed that she and Jared had actually broken up 2 years earlier, right after filming Season 12. By the time the 2021 season rolled around, the news was out in the open. Brandi confirmed on camera that she and Jared were no longer together and that they'd now be bidding on storage units separately. Jared chimed in too, saying that just because they weren't a couple anymore didn't mean they couldn't still go to auctions, just not side by side. Even though the two clearly wanted distance, that didn't stop them from throwing a few playful jabs at each other on the show. Brandi promised fans that despite the tension, the new season was still shaping up to be one of the funniest ones yet. But things took a darker turn soon after. Only weeks after the April 2021 premiere, real-life drama spilled out of the screen. According to TMZ, Brandi was out with friends at an Orange County bar when Jared unexpectedly showed up. The night quickly turned tense. Witnesses said the two got into a heated argument, and Brandi asked him to leave. He didn't. The fight escalated, and police were eventually called after Jared allegedly pushed Brandi twice. He left before officers arrived, but Brandi gave a statement. Jared denied everything, yet law enforcement didn't buy it. He was later charged with 1 count of misdemeanor domestic violence battery. After that, he quietly disappeared from Storage Wars. The network never confirmed whether he was fired, but Jared didn't return to the show. Brandi, on the other hand, moved forward. She returned for more seasons of Storage Wars and began branching out. One of her new projects was joining the podcast Happening Now with Hammer. She first appeared as a guest, beer in hand, joking about licking her wounds after a rough night out. It didn't take long for fans to realize she wasn't just passing through. She became a regular co-host, showing up in nearly every episode since. Being a reality TV star, though, hasn't always been easy for her. Brandi once described fame as both a blessing and a curse. She admitted that sometimes she just wants to do something normal, like grab a gallon of milk, without being stopped by fans. That loss of privacy is real, but the paycheck that comes with it is nothing to complain about. When Storage Wars first premiered in 2010, Brandi was reportedly making around $2,000 per episode. By 2014, that number had jumped to $12,000 per episode, according to MSN. With some seasons boasting more than 30 episodes, the math speaks for itself. Her success has built her an estimated net worth of around $2 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. She once joked that her earnings finally allowed her to hire some help, since she was always juggling work and home life. But no matter how busy things get, she's always made sure her kids come first. Since stepping away from the storage auctions, Brandi has kept things relatively low-key, but far from boring. She stays active on Instagram, often using it to connect directly with fans, and sometimes even inviting them to show love through Venmo. She's also found another income stream through Cameo, where fans can buy personalized videos and messages straight from her. She may not be bidding on storage lockers anymore, but Brandi Passante has managed to keep her name alive, her fans close, and her hustle strong. And judging by how she's kept things moving, her story is far from over.